Hello, hi, welcome. Thank you for attending. We're going to cover, sorry, we're going to cover test two. Okay, so I appreciate you being here. This will add 5 points, at least 5 points to your score on test two. All right, and I think you'll find that I'm going to try to balance helping you out with knowing that this is also this is the second test in a college class. And so I'm not going to go through like all the answers like I did on the first one. And I hope you don't mind. But like I said, I don't think my boss would want me to do that. So let's start off though, as we go to test two. All right. So hopefully you guys can see this as I share it with you. So notice a lot of them I'll say which of the following was not, which of the following is false, all the following except. And I know it probably gets annoying, but I like doing that because it confirms to you when you find the three right answers, it confirms to you what you've learned. I'm hoping at least, as you look for the false answer, the one that doesn't fit. All right, so that's the reason for which I did that. All right, so with number one, which of the following was not mentioned as commonly cited relevant context to the War for Independence? So when you look at the War for Independence, let's see here. Right here, it's in, oh, let me share the page. Sorry. It's in the intro. All right, so look what we have here is you look through the intro, you look at remember people are going to select facts that suit their presuppositions, their assumptions, what question they're asking and looking for, an answer for. And so you have to consider that. Nevertheless, I feel like almost no matter where you're coming from and looking at the War for Independence, these factors should be considered relevant. So the first one, right, that I go over is demographics, demographic changes. You have a population boom. You have people moving into the cities. You have people moving into the western frontiers of the colonies, right? And so at the end of the French and Indian War, the British feel the practical responsibility of administering that new territory. You remember they gained Canada, etc., by winning the French and Indian War against the French. So and they also knew they needed to raise money to do all this. So in come the taxes. Then another one we have are the ambiguity regarding their rights as Englishmen. Remember, the English common law is organic, like a growing living organism. And so there's not one definitive written constitution as in our country. And so it gets confusing, it gets convoluted, it gets complex. And you have to look at laws in different years. You have to look at judicial decisions, regal edicts, and so forth. So at any rate, you had cases whereby people were determined to be English because their father was English, but yet they moved to one of the English colonies. They had cases by which it was the place in which you're born renders you an English subject to all the rights of an Englishman. And so, it seemed kind of clear to the colonial rebels that for many reasons we had the rights of Englishmen, the full rights of Englishmen, but the British Parliament disagreed. All right. And so I think that's a relevant factor, no matter what thesis you have adhered to. Then the Enlightenment. you know, even if you're like a materialist, right, looks for ambition, coveting of power, coveting of wealth. Uh, Even if you go that route, you would at least address the Enlightenment, Scottish liberalism, the Great Awakening, and these different ideas that were spreading in the mid 1700s. All right. Even if you thought they were propaganda that were useful for the elite to manipulate the masses. Then you have the fact that assemblies started garnering certain rights and privileges and powers. All right. Including the right to tax their own subjects. And that almost has to be considered relevant. And then you had dramatic events. You had dramatic events that happened as well. All right. So looking at this, you find your answer to number one in the introduction. All right. Look at if you would, at C. British plans to placate colonial tensions in granting Native American lands to the colonists. You're not going to find that. All right. Hint, hint. Then the next three are the first three sections in the War for Independence handout. You have the salutary neglect thesis. Remember that we were neglected, but it had a healthy effect on us. Our assemblies garnered rights and powers. People did what they wanted, by and large, economically, because the British did not enforce their regulations very strictly. Bernard Bailyn is the court history, that we were enlightened and the role of ideas. And Howard Zinn has a very cynical thesis that the founding fathers were manipulative, elitist, the term he uses, demagogues, manipulators of the people, and hijacking the rebellion. Remember, with the Scottish Enlightenment and Scottish liberalism, it was very libertarian, I said, right? So remember that. The libertarian part is tied into the Scottish movement, not the French. The Great Awakening, remember, you don't have to obey and know your place, right? With the British officials, if they are no longer doing God's work, if they're living in sinful rebellion, if they're tyrannical, you have the religious right to rebel and no longer show obedience to them. All right. Joseph Ellis's book is number 3. Remember, you see kind of a selfish side to George Washington, but there's more to it than that. So take a look at number 3. Number 8 is number 4 on the handout. I already just mentioned it, Howard Zinn's very cynical thesis. Evidence used to support that thesis. You should find all of them except one clearly doesn't fit. If you adhere to Enlightenment beliefs, you genuinely, truly believe in them and believe you're fighting for them. And then numbers 10 and 11 are found on the Turning to a Republic handout. Number 1. We tried a democratic, highly decentralized confederation, and it didn't work. The people messed it up. They were selfish. All right. So look for evidence of that. Number 12 is tied to number 2 on Turning to a Republic. And the thesis you should be able to find within the intro to see if number 12 was true or false. All right, about the founding fathers and approving or ratifying the Constitution. As is number 13, evidence to support that thesis about the founding fathers and the ratification process. All right. Number 14 is found in number 1, in turning to a republic. And the state level governments were relatively democratic and enlightened, not so much conservative. Remember, I did mention on 15 and 16 that we have a constitutional federal republic and that we never truly had a laissez-faire capitalist economy. The Federalist Papers are found on number 2 of turning to a republic. Number 18, what would likely not be considered enlightened that is found in the Constitution? Look at B. Did they apply the notion of universal citizenship? No way. All right. And then not a conservative component to the Constitution. Look at D. Showing transparency? No, that's enlightened. Then moving on to number 20. Number 20 is, I believe, found in the Early Republic handout, section number 1, under Hamilton and his system. And remember, I kind of rhetorically asked you guys, do you believe that everyone is entitled to the same protection of the law, the same opportunities, the same rights and protections and privileges of citizenship? Absolutely. But do you believe everyone is equally capable of writing an English paper for you or fixing your car? So to the conservatives, right, they wanted to make sure that the best were elected into office. The Anti-Federalists were the ones who thought the Constitution established a republic that was too centralized. And who feared a big centralized government? Libertarians did. Number 22 is found in number 1 on the Early Republic handout. As is number 23. It's a little bit redundant. And number 24, I mentioned all of that. If you don't find it in number 1 of the Early Republic handout, I did mention it as true. As I did number 25. All right, 26, you could find on number 2 of the Early Republic handout on John Adams and, according to McCullough, why he did not win re-election. Number 27 is also found on number 2 of the Early Republic handout. Hofstadter's thesis is found in number 3 of the Early Republic handout, the mom and dad thesis of Thomas Jefferson. Number 29, you will find on number 4 of the Early Republic handout. Number 30 is brief, but it is also in number 4. But was he bipartisan in his appointments? No. Now, remember, according to his rhetoric, he was all for that. But it was one more contradiction of Thomas Jefferson as president, that he did not do that. Number 31 is also found in number 4 of the early Republic handout. Number 32, Jefferson believed that African Americans' alleged inferiority was like that of Native Americans, not biological, but cultural. I wish. No. That's one more contradiction. He tore into slavery in his notes on the state of Virginia and in the Declaration, but he believed in the innate biological inferiority of African Americans, sadly. Number 33 is the thesis to number 4 of the early Republic handout. '34, this one's a softball pitch. The War of 1812, was it fought against the French? Okay, so you've just done that one. In the Ohio Valley, as well as in the South, fighting was fierce with the Native Americans. So remember that for numbers 35 and number 36. Number 37 was largely my lecture. I did mention A. I did mention B. And I also mentioned C. Did we militarily win Oregon from British Canada? No. And slavery, was it pretty much endorsed by the Constitution in the contract clause, the fugitive slave clause, the 10th Amendment reserving whatever was not mentioned to the states? Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, I want you to look up number 39, okay? But with 39, remember, the federal part is supposed to be a balance between state power and Washington, D.C.'s power. And number 40, I think you'll find information on A, on number 1 of the early Republic handout. You'll find information on B, on number 4 of the early Republic handout. C, check out section 2 of the early Republic handout and see if that's true or not. And finally, D, check out section number 4. So I want to make sure that I have everyone's name. Make sure that you all get your credit for this. Yes. All right. Are there any questions, you guys? I hope you don't mind, but I don't feel comfortable, giving more than that on the second and third tests. That's a good question, Jacob. Since I am not only philosophically okay with you using open notes, but I also couldn't stop you if I wanted to. So yeah, absolutely, Jacob. You're free to use open notes.
When are you going to submit the quiz into the quizzes?
I'm going to try to do it tonight before I go to sleep. I've just been crazy busy and I have something at 6 o'clock. And then when I get home from that, I'm gonna put it in. But it does take a couple hours because I have to do the question, option A, then option B. There's no way of getting around the meticulous, tedious side to it of copying and pasting every single phrase to the computer. So I apologize that I haven't done that yet, and it probably won't be done until late tonight. And I have no problem actually, since technically today is the beginning of the test. I have no problem with giving you one more day for the test, giving you until the 4th of November instead of the 3rd. You'll become aware when you go on there in quizzes to take this. If I give you a second shot at it, I'm going back and forth on that because I believe I did on the first one. And normally I just do the first one, but I may give you guys 2 shots at this one as well. Okay. So are there any other questions or comments? All right. So if you don't mind, guys, I'm going to let you go. I know it's kind of a short one, but like I said, I just my boss looks over my Zooms, and I just don't feel comfortable on test 2 and 3 continuing to give the answer for everyone. I literally somewhat afraid of doing that. I don't think that would look good. All right, so you guys can do this. I told you each section that is applicable to each number, and gave you some. I hope that appears to you as it does to me as fair. Okay. Thank you, Cadence. All right. So you guys have a good day, okay? A good week. I will positively, okay, move the test back a day. And I wish you good luck on it, okay? All right, you guys take care. I have all your names. You'll get your extra credit.